Hello and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Randesha or Randy for short. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different because I do have a new subby that requested that I basically go into depth on the tactics that I use in my budgets. So far I've been thinking of the way I budget as one tactic. Everything that I do from start to finish is just one whole tactic. But when I sat down to put together my thoughts on the topics that she requested, I'm like, you know what, maybe I can make a couple of deep dive videos to kind of like give you guys more insight into like my thoughts and like why I do the things that I do in my process, in my budgeting process. So I have some notes here. I don't know how to do I'm very limited in like all of the little pop-ups and all that kind of editing stuff. So I got to give you guys these notes in like high school overhead style. So that's what's in my capabilities. So I apologize if these videos are kind of boring, but I hope that the information is useful to you guys. So without further ado, the topic that we're going to go into is rollover funds. If you want me to do a video on a specific topic, then go ahead and drop it down in the comments, and then I'll add that to the list. And if I get multiple requests on the same topics, then I'll move that up higher on the list so that I can get that video out quicker. Okay, all right, so enough rambling. Let's get on with the video. So how to roll over funds. So let me first define what I think of as rollover, because this is not what I'm about to talk about is not to be confused with like retirement fund rollover. So rolling over funds from, say, a traditional IRA to another IRA. So that's not what I'm talking about in this video. So when I say rollover, I'm talking about when you have funds in a current period. So let's say one paycheck, you roll over that money from paycheck one to say paycheck two. So typically when you're rolling over money, you're rolling it over from the current period that you're in to the next consecutive period, typically. So let's go over the types of rollovers that I know. And the one that I use the most is to help with large payments. So say our mortgage is $1,800 and we have to pay that in paycheck number two. So I know that my paycheck number two is going to be tight if I pay that whole $1,800 out of paycheck number two. So what I'll do is I'll roll over $500 from paycheck number one to paycheck number two. So now in paycheck number two, all I have to put aside from that paycheck is $1,300 to put towards the mortgage. Okay, so and I did a little demonstration on the side. So roll $500 from paycheck one, and paycheck two, you set aside $1,300 so that you can pay the $1,800 mortgage. So the next type of rollover that I know of is when you want to balance checks. So say you're doing your budget for the month, and then you see that your paycheck number two is going to be short $100. So what you're going to do is in paycheck number one, you're going to set aside $100 to roll over to paycheck number two, so that paycheck number two is now balanced. You're not like you have just you have the exact amount of money that you need in order to be good on paycheck number two, or pay all your bills on paycheck number two. And you can see that on the side. Roll over $100 from paycheck number one, and then you are short paycheck number two, so that paycheck number two, when you add that $100 to it, it now balances out. So the next one is going to be I'm going to actually highlight this so you guys can see it better. So this one is one that I see a lot on YouTube, is when someone is rolling over their cash balance. So let's say it's September now, so September paycheck one. At the end of somebody's budget, they have $12.83 left over in paycheck number one. So when they go and they start paycheck number two, their starting balance is that same $12.83. And then say their money comes in for paycheck number two, and then Out of that $12.83 that they started with from the last paycheck, they used $10 of it in addition to all of the money that came in for paycheck number 2. So now their ending balance is, I probably should do this in another color. So now their ending balance is $2.83. So that means for paycheck number 1, they're rolling over $2.83 to be October's paycheck number 1 starting balance. So you can see that right there. That was very crooked. And then, so their money comes in for paycheck number 1 in October, and then let's say they don't use all of their money, and now their ending balance is $64.70. So now going into paycheck number 2 for October, their starting balance is that same $64.07. So I think you guys get, what I need another mile liner. What I'm trying to like say is basically whatever's left in their account at the end of that paycheck, they roll it over to be the starting balance of their next paycheck. And feel free to, hit me up in the comments or something if you need me to explain that further, but I think you guys get the point. So now, we have the next type of rollover, which is the buffer. So some people like to keep a buffer in their checking account. And what they typically mean by that is they have a set amount of money always in their checking account, no matter what. So let's say their buffer is $500. So their money comes in, and no matter what happens, they want at the end of that paycheck, they want it to at least have $500. So, and if they dip below that $500, then they will replace the money that they spent out of that $500 as quickly as possible, or as soon as they are able. So at the end of paycheck number 1 for September, their ending balance was $500. And then the starting balance of paycheck number 2 could be $879 because, their money came in. So at the end of paycheck number 2, they may have spent money out of there, but they're always going to have at least $500 in their checking account at all points in time, unless, of course, they need to use it and they replenish it, like I said. So that is what a buffer is. And I do use a buffer, but it's part of like, if you follow my budgeting videos, that's what my Murphy account is for. So not only is my Murphy account my short-term $1,000 emergency fund, I also treat it as my family's buffer, because just in case something unexpected happened, the Murphy account is in its own separate account, but it is linked to our checking account. So just it helps us with like overdraft. So if something happens and we need to spend money, or if something comes out of our account that I wasn't expecting, then that money will be pulled from our Murphy account and transferred automatically to our checking account to cover any unexpected expenses that we may need to pay. And that way we don't get overdraft fees. And I know that we're always covered. So that way I don't need to leave. I don't need to leave like money in our account, whether it's a set amount or, leave money like once we're done with all of our like paying all of our bills. If there's money in the account, I don't have to leave it in there. So typically at the end of my budget, when I'm going into like from paycheck 1 to paycheck 2, my account is zero. I like to start literally at $0 in my account because it's easier for me to reconcile, versus if I had, money in there, like a starting balance every time, then for me, that it's a little bit more work because I have to constantly remember that, oh yeah, I had a little bit of money in my account to start with. And for me, that's just way too much work. So I'm going to turn the page and then we're going to keep going. And feel free if I missed any type of rollover that you may do, or if you have something to add, please definitely drop it down in the comments, because I'm always interested in learning new things, and you might be helping somebody, who is watching the video and had a question or something to add that could help somebody else. So please drop it down in the comments if you have anything to add, or if you have any questions that I'm not about to go over right here. So one of the questions that I frequently see is, how much should you roll over? So I'm going to say that depends on how much you need in the next period. So like that example where you were short $100 in paycheck number 2, maybe all you need to do is roll over the amount that you're short in paycheck number 2 from paycheck number 1. So it kind of really depends on how much you need. And then where should you keep the funds until you need them? So I would say, at least what I like to do is, I like to keep it in a separate account from my bill paying account, but I like to keep them, both of those accounts, in the same bank. So I have my main checking account, and then I have my rollover account. My rollover account is an account all on its own. So I typically only use that rollover account to hold the money that I'm rolling over from paycheck number 1 to paycheck number 2 to help with the mortgage. That way, that money, in case something happens, is set aside, and it's separate from anything else. It's separate from being in my checking account and accidentally being spent, or anything like that. So I say the last day of the month, because our mortgage is due on the 1st, I will go into the rollover account and I will transfer that money over to our main bill paying account where the mortgage gets paid out of, and that way the money is ready to go. So that's how I do it. That's how I find it to be the easiest, but that may not work for everybody, just because it depends on where you bank, because you do have to take banking fees into account. So another alternative, if you don't want to keep your rollover in a separate account from everything else, you can keep it in your bill paying account, but just keep track of it in whatever way that you find the most convenient. So whether you keep track of it and it's aligned in your budget, or you just remember that it's there, or however you want to do it, but just make sure you stay on top of it so you don't accidentally use it on something that you didn't intend to spend that money on. All right, so one of the questions that I got was where to apply the sinking funds in your budget. And it really depends again. So, what are your goals? My goal right now is me and my family are on a debt payoff. We could roll that money over, like, and use it as like a starting balance, like that, just so that we have more like fun money or whatever. But we're focused right now on paying off debt. So use that money towards whatever financial goal, or any other goal that you have right now. That's an option. Do you need it for an upcoming bill? Do you have a list of like your annual expenses, and maybe you could set some of that money aside to pay for a annual bill or subscription that's coming up later in the year or something? Maybe you could set that aside. Or maybe you could set aside, maybe you could start your Christmas fund, or maybe you can start building up some money to pay your car insurance in full instead of paying it every month. It just depends on what you want to do. So that ties into get ahead on bills. So you start trying to get ahead on bills 1 month. Maybe you pay up your electricity bill, because in a couple months we'll be back in spring, and then summer will be coming up again. Maybe you can start building up that money so that you can have a lower electricity bill during next summer. Or yeah, you can get 1 month ahead on all bills. It just really depends. Maybe you could use it to increase your buffer. So maybe you have $100 buffer right now. Can you use that money to increase it to like $200, $300? That's something to consider. Maybe you can use it to start or build up your sinking funds. That's always good. Like, I can't tell you guys how much that my cash envelopes and my sinking funds, just because of the way that I do them, has like an automatic built-in buffer. So that if I'm over on groceries one week, I might not have to go over budget in my current budget because I have a buffer in my food account. So maybe you could do that. You could build up your sinking funds so that, you know, your problematic cash envelopes or sinking funds will be will have a built-in buffer. So that's pretty much all I have on rollover funds. So again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, drop them down below in the comments. I do answer all comments. So yeah, and if you want to talk about it further, you can just DM me on Instagram. My name on Instagram is the same as it is on YouTube. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to help me get to 1,000 subscribers by October, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.